AITA for leaving my girlfriend after a late-night text proved her cheating wasn't the worst part. My name is Nolan. I'm 28, and at the time this happened, I was doing quality assurance for a medical software company, which is exactly as glamorous as it sounds. Most days I worked from home in sweatpants, drank too much iced coffee, and spent my lunch break trying to keep our tiny balcony herb garden alive. I lived with my girlfriend, Marissa, in a two-bedroom apartment in Portland that we shared with a half-dead fiddle leaf fig and a cat we technically adopted together, even though the cat had very clearly chosen me. We'd been together for a little over 3 years. I thought we were in the boring, stable part of a relationship where the biggest argument was whether we were renewing the Costco membership. We were not exciting anymore, but I thought that was a good thing. I thought boring meant safe. Our apartment was in one of those neighborhoods where old brick buildings sat next to food cart pods and coffee shops with mismatched chairs. The grocery store on the corner charged $6 for oat milk. The basement laundry room always smelled faintly like detergent and wet concrete, and our assigned parking spot became a weekly argument because someone was always half-blocking the alley. The iPad lived on the kitchen counter. It was technically shared, but mostly it was a kitchen appliance. We used it for recipes, streaming shows while making dinner, printing shipping labels, checking the shared Google Calendar, and occasionally ordering cat food because Basil, our orange tabby, refused to eat anything affordable. Marissa had logged into it months earlier to print hotel itineraries for work and, apparently, never disabled message syncing. That was why, in the middle of the night, while the refrigerator hummed and Basil's collar bell jingled somewhere near the couch, the screen lit up with a message I was never supposed to see. I didn't even touch the screen at first. I just stood there, barefoot on the cold kitchen tile, rereading the sentence until it stopped looking like English. He almost saw us tonight. Tell Jenna to fix the screenshots. The notification banner disappeared after a few seconds. The kitchen went dark again except for the little green light on the coffee maker and the street lamp leaking through the blinds. My first instinct was not anger. It was confusion, the stupid kind where your brain tries to protect you by making up harmless explanations. Maybe it was about work. Maybe us meant a client. Maybe the screenshots were for some event layout. Maybe I was half asleep and had read it wrong. I picked up my phone and took a photo of the lock screen before the notification vanished completely from the notification center. I did not unlock the iPad. I did not guess Marissa's password. I did not do anything dramatic. I just took the picture, stared at it for another minute, and walked back to bed with the glass of water still in my hand. Marissa was asleep on her side, or pretending to be. Her hair was spread over the pillow, and her phone was face down on the nightstand, which had become normal lately. She used to leave it wherever it landed. Recently, it was always face down, always close. I lay there until morning, watching gray light fill the bedroom. Our friend group had been part of our life for so long that it felt less like a group and more like furniture. Tessa was my college friend, the kind of person who knew embarrassing stories from when I thought thrift store blazers made me look artistic. Miles came through board game nights and somehow stayed. Jenna was Marissa's closest friend, loud and sharp and protective in a way people called honest when they liked her and exhausting when they didn't. Adrian was newer, a friend of a friend who showed up one Friday with craft beer and an easy smile, then kept showing up until nobody questioned it. Our apartment became the default place because it was central and because I kept LaCroix, frozen pizzas, and extra phone chargers around. On Fridays, people came over after happy hour and left takeout containers on the coffee table. On Sundays, someone would suggest grocery runs or brunch, and somehow we'd end up back at our place, arguing about which movie to stream. There were hoodies on our coat hooks that did not belong to us. Tessa had a favorite mug. Miles knew where we kept the extra paper towels. Jenna once reorganized our spice shelf after having too many drinks, and then got offended when I moved the cumin back. That was how normal it felt. There were people in that group who knew the squeaky floorboard in our hallway and which burner on our stove ran too hot. They knew Basil liked to knock keys off the entryway table if you ignored him for more than 30 seconds. They knew our home from the inside. So when Marissa started getting busier, it did not immediately look like betrayal. She worked event coordination for a boutique hotel downtown, which meant weird hours, needy clients, last-minute vendor calls, and emergencies involving floral arrangements that somehow required 3 adults and a spreadsheet. Late nights happened. Sudden drinks with Jenna happened. Someone always had a birthday dinner at a brewery with bad acoustics, and appetizers nobody remembered ordering until the Venmo requests came through. The weird part was not that Marissa was busy. The weird part was that every explanation came with too many details. Sorry, babe, the vendor meeting ran long because Vanessa from catering double-booked the tasting room. And then Jenna was having a thing about her sister, so I grabbed one drink with her. Just one. I know, I smell like bar fries. I'm showering. She would come home and head straight to the bathroom. She would kiss me quickly, then shower, then wrap herself in a robe and ask if I had eaten. Her phone stayed face down. If it buzzed, she glanced at it with her whole body. I noticed. I just did what I always did with people I loved. I gave her room to be imperfect without turning it into a trial. The morning after the iPad message, Marissa woke up cheerful. Not normal cheerful. Bright cheerful. She came into the kitchen wearing my old Oregon hoodie, hair wet from a shower, and started making coffee before I had even touched the grinder. That was not nothing. I am picky about coffee in a way that makes me annoying before 8 a.m., and she usually refused to participate on principle. Coffee? She asked too lightly. I was standing by the sink, rinsing Basil's dish. He sat on the floor between us, tail flicking, sensing something was wrong in the way cats do before humans admit it. Sure, I said. Marissa poured water into the machine and glanced at me. You look tired this morning. Bad sleep? Yeah, I said. Something woke me up. Her hand paused for half a second on the coffee scoop. Then she laughed a little. Basil probably knocked something over. Tiny troublemaker. Basil looked up like he had been slandered. Probably, I said. She came over and kissed my cheek. I have a late thing tonight, by the way. Not too late. Just a vendor walkthrough. There it was. The preloaded explanation. I looked at her face. She was pretty in a way that still caught me sometimes when I was not expecting it, with soft brown eyes and a small scar near her chin from falling off a bike as a kid. She looked like someone I knew completely. That was the worst part. My brain kept trying to match this woman pouring coffee in our kitchen with the message glowing on the iPad at 2:13 a.m., and the pieces would not fit cleanly. Okay, I said. What hotel? She blinked. Ours. The hotel. What? No reason. She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. You sure you're okay? Just tired. By lunch, Jenna texted me. Hey, just checking in. Marissa told me you were kind of quiet this morning. She was with me after dinner last night, BTW, if you're worried. We got drinks and talked about my mom being impossible. She didn't do anything weird, LOL. I stared at the message while a software bug report sat open on my work laptop. I had not asked Jenna anything. I had not hinted at being worried. I had not even told Marissa I saw the notification. But Jenna had sent me a paragraph that answered a question I had not asked. I typed, all good, hope your mom's situation is okay. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Thanks. Yeah, just stressful. I put my phone down and wrote the date in a blank note on my laptop. I added the time of the iPad notification, the exact wording, and Jenna's text. It felt ridiculous and cold, like something a suspicious person would do. Then I remembered the phrase, fixed the screenshots, and kept typing. That evening, I picked up Thai food from a place 2 blocks over because Marissa was still at her vendor walkthrough. While I waited near the register, Miles walked in wearing a rain jacket, even though the sky outside was clear. He saw me and froze with one hand halfway into his pocket. Nolan. Hey. Hey, I said. Picking up. Yeah. Green curry. Or, wait, no? Pad CEW. He looked at the counter like the answer might be printed there. Long day. Same. He fumbled with his debit card, dropped it, picked it up, then said, Marissa got home okay, right? I had not mentioned Marissa. I looked at him. Last night. His ears went red. Yeah. I mean, I just know everyone was out and stuff. She got home. Cool. Good. He nodded too many times. Good, good. Guilt has a way of walking into the room before the person does. The cashier called his order number. He grabbed the bag so fast he nearly left without the card. I watched him go, then checked my phone. No message from Marissa. When I got home, Basil was sitting on the entryway table beside my keys, looking offended by my absence. I fed him, put the takeout on the counter, and opened the shared Google Calendar. Marissa's work event from the night before was listed from 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. at the hotel. There was another event for that night, marked Vendor Walkthrough, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. I clicked the old event. The description had been edited that morning at 8:17 a.m. My stomach tightened. I did not know what I was looking for yet, so I started with ordinary things. Laundry, mail, receipts, not snooping in drawers or breaking into accounts. Just touching the edges of the life we supposedly shared. The first real piece was in Marissa's jacket. I was moving clothes from the washer to the dryer in the basement when I found a folded parking receipt in the pocket of her black coat. It was damp around the edges, but readable. Pearl District Garage. Entry, 11:58 p.m. Exit, 12:41 a.m. I knew that garage because Adrian once complained for 10 minutes about how expensive it was. His apartment was 2 blocks away. I stood in the basement laundry room with the receipt in my hand, while the dryer thumped behind me. Someone had left a single sock on top of the vending machine. The fluorescent lights made everything look sickly and honest. Marissa's hotel event had ended at 8:30 p.m. Jenna had told me they were together after dinner. Miles had asked whether Marissa got home okay. The iPad message said, "He almost saw us tonight." The group story was not just wrong. It was coordinated. I took a photo of the receipt and put it back exactly where I found it, which made me feel both smart and miserable. Then I called Priya. Priya worked with me in QA. She was not part of the friend group, which suddenly made her the most trustworthy person I knew. We were friendly in that coworker way where you know someone's coffee order, their Slack tone, and the name of their dog, but not their childhood trauma. She had once helped me write a very diplomatic bug report for an engineer who considered all feedback a personal attack. I trusted her judgment. She answered on the 4th ring. "If this is about the claims module, I already told Evan it is broken." "It's not work," I said. Her voice changed. "Okay, what's wrong?" I told her facts only. The iPad message. Jenna's preemptive text. Miles at the Thai place. The calendar edit. The parking receipt. She was quiet for a second after I finished. "Do you want comfort or strategy?" That almost made me laugh. "Strategy. Good. Do not argue in a group chat," she said. "Screenshot, save, and protect yourself." I don't want to be the guy who builds a case against his girlfriend. Then don't be that guy. Be the guy who does not let a coordinated lie turn into his housing problem. I sat on the edge of the bed, looking at the wall where Marissa and I had hung a framed print from a street fair. "I feel insane." "You're not insane. You're underinformed on purpose." That sentence landed hard. Priya continued, "Write down dates. Save receipts. Talk to your leasing office. Separate anything financial that you can separate without causing a scene. And do not give them a chance to make this about your tone." My tone. If you confront them angry, they'll make the story about how you acted. If you confront them with facts, they have fewer places to hide. I looked toward the hallway. Basil was sitting outside the bedroom door, staring at me through the crack like a tiny orange witness. "You can be calm and still be done," Priya said. The next day, Jenna sent screenshots. They arrived in the afternoon with the kind of fake casualness that announces itself. "I know you said all good, but Marissa is upset, and I hate weird energy. Screenshot from last night, so everyone can stop being dramatic." She was literally texting us while we were at drinks. Under it were 3 images of a group chat thread. The messages showed Marissa texting Jenna and Tessa around 10:47 p.m., joking about margaritas and Jenna's mom. There was a photo of 3 glasses on a sticky table. There was a timestamp. There were little mundane details that made the whole thing look believable. It was a good fake, which somehow made it feel worse. I almost accepted it. I wanted to. My mind reached toward it like a tired person reaching for a chair. Then I noticed the weather widget at the top of Jenna's screenshot. Rain. 48 degrees. That night had been clear. I remembered because I had opened the balcony door around 10 to check on the basil plant, and the air had been cold but dry. No rain. No wet pavement. No jacket needed. The screenshot was from a different day. I opened my photos and found a picture I had taken that night of Basil sitting in the open balcony doorway like he owned the city. The timestamp was 10:12 p.m. Through the glass railing, the street below was dry. I saved everything. Then I went back to the iPad. The iPad still showed a few old notifications on the lock screen. Nothing open, nothing private beyond what had already appeared there because Marissa's account was connected. I did not go digging into messages. I did not need to. One notification from 3 weeks earlier sat lower in the stack, partly hidden under a grocery delivery alert. It was from Tessa. I still think the cabin situation is going to become a serious problem. Adrian cannot stop looking at her. The cabin trip. 3 weeks earlier, the group had taken a weekend trip to a cabin near Mount Hood. I was supposed to go, but a release at work slipped, and I had spent the weekend testing a medication reconciliation update, while everyone else sent photos of fire pits, board games, and Tessa wearing a beanie indoors. Marissa had come home sunburned, tired, and weirdly quiet. I remembered asking if everything was okay. Just group politics, she had said. You know how Jenna gets. That was when the story stopped being about one bad night. It had a history. I opened my notes again and wrote, cabin trip. Adrian. Tessa knew. For the next 2 days, I became very boring on purpose. I worked. I fed Basil. I watered the herbs. I responded to Marissa's texts with normal answers. I did not accuse anyone. I did not ask trap questions. I did not send a dramatic message to the group chat. I made pasta on Thursday and watched Marissa eat it across from me while telling me about a difficult bride at work. I nodded at the right places. I hated how easy it was for us to look normal. Every so often, she would soften and touch my arm or send me a TikTok from the couch. Those moments hurt more than the lies because they reminded me of the relationship I had thought I was in. On Friday morning, the lease renewal email arrived. Subject: renewal options for Unit 3B. I stared at it for a long time. Our lease had another 6 weeks, and we had been talking about renewing because moving in Portland had become a competitive sport I did not want to play. The apartment was not fancy, but it was ours. Or it had been. I called the leasing office during lunch. A woman named Carla answered, sounding like she had already solved 3 parking disputes and was over all of us. I explained, as neutrally as I could, that my relationship might be ending and I wanted to understand options if one tenant stayed and one left. You'd need a roommate release, she said. Both parties sign. Remaining tenant requalifies based on income. If you qualify alone, we can issue the renewal in your name. What happens if the other person refuses? Then both parties remain responsible until the lease ends, unless there's a legal issue or mutual agreement. I can qualify alone, I said. Then get the form started. Better to know before emotions get involved. Better to know before emotions get involved. Carla from the leasing office should have been a therapist. I filled out the pre-qualification form. I downloaded bank statements. I made a spreadsheet of shared expenses, which felt petty until I remembered Tessa still owed me $1,200. 2 months earlier, Tessa had come to me embarrassed and teary after a game night. She said her car needed urgent repairs, and she was short until payday. I loaned her the money because she was my friend and because she looked genuinely scared. She promised to pay me back in installments. Then she kept forgetting. Then she joked about it. Then I stopped asking because I did not want to make it weird. Now I checked Venmo. No payments. But I found other payments. Miles to Adrian for gas. Marissa to Jenna for margs. Tessa to Marissa for cabin food 2 days after the trip. Adrian to Marissa, ticket LOL, with a winking emoji from the night she claimed a vendor event ran late. Individually, none of it proved anything. Together, it looked like a map of people stepping around me. I changed the passwords on accounts that were mine: streaming, grocery delivery, the utilities portal. I removed Marissa's card from subscriptions I paid for and removed mine from things she controlled. I backed up the photos, screenshots, and notes to a folder Priya told me to name something boring. I chose tax_docs_2024 because nobody voluntarily opens tax documents. That night, I asked Marissa for one calm conversation. She was sitting on the couch with Basil beside her, though he was facing me like his loyalties were already settled. A half-folded blanket covered her lap. The TV was paused on some renovation show where a couple was pretending to consider a backsplash. "Can we talk?" I asked. She looked up. "About what?" "I am going to ask this once, and I want you to think before you answer." Her expression tightened. "That sounds intense." "It is. Is there anything you need to tell me?" She blinked slowly. "About what?" "About Adrian. About last Wednesday. About the cabin trip." The room got very quiet. Even the TV couple seemed to be waiting. Marissa set the remote down. "Wow. That is not an answer. You saw one weird message and built a whole story around it, didn't you?" I watched her carefully. Not because I wanted to catch her, exactly, but because I wanted some sign that the person I loved was still in there willing to tell the truth. "I am asking because I still respect what we were," I said. She pulled the blanket tighter around her waist. I cannot keep proving myself because you had a weird feeling. I did not say feeling. You don't have to. This is what you do. You get quiet and make people feel like they're on trial. I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny in it. She was trying to turn my restraint into something to use against me. So nothing happened? I asked. Nothing happened the way you're implying. That is also not an answer. Her eyes filled, which would have broken me 3 days earlier. I work late. I have friends. I should not have to give you a minute-by-minute report because you're insecure. There it was. The door closing. I nodded once. Okay. Okay, she said, thrown off. Okay. I went to bed early and slept on the far edge of the mattress. Marissa did not touch me. In the morning, she acted wounded and distant. By noon, Jenna had texted the group chat. Sunday dinner at Nolan/Marissa's? I feel like we need normal friend energy. I'll bring salad. Normal friend energy. That was one way to put it. I said yes. Not because I wanted a scene. Because I wanted the lying to stop happening in corners. Sunday came gray and cold, the kind of Portland day where the sky looked like wet cement even when it was not raining. I cleaned the apartment because anxiety had to go somewhere. I wiped down the counters, vacuumed cat hair from the rug, and put a lasagna in the oven because feeding people had always been my reflex. Then I printed everything at the UPS store on Hawthorne. The photo of the iPad notification, Jenna's texts, the weather screenshot comparison, the parking receipt, the calendar edit timestamp, the old Tessa notification about the cabin, Venmo screenshots, and the roommate release form. The guy behind the counter asked if I needed a folder. Yeah, I said. Plain is fine. I slid the folder under the coffee table when I got home. People arrived around 6. Tessa came first, carrying cheap wine and avoiding my eyes so aggressively she nearly walked into the doorframe. Miles came next with a 6-pack, then Jenna with salad in a glass bowl like she was arriving at a church potluck. Adrian showed up last, which told me he had been invited even though no one had mentioned him. He walked in wearing a denim jacket and that relaxed half-smile of his. Hope I'm not crashing. You were invited, Jenna said quickly. Marissa appeared beside me in the kitchen. I didn't know he was coming. That was the first true thing she had said all week, and even that might have been a lie. Basil took one look at the room and disappeared under the couch. Dinner was unbearable in the most ordinary way. Forks scraped plates. Jenna talked about a coworker who cried in a staff meeting. Miles laughed too loudly at nothing. Tessa drank wine too fast. Adrian complimented the lasagna and called me man 3 times in 5 minutes. Marissa sat close enough that our elbows almost touched, performing couplehood with the determination of someone holding a door shut during a storm. After dinner, Jenna leaned back on the couch with her wine and said, I am just going to say it. Some people confuse anxiety with intuition. Miles stared into his beer. Marissa closed her eyes. Jenna. No, I mean it, Jenna said. Healthy relationships need trust. And this weird interrogation energy is not healthy. I looked at her. That is a pretty confident thing to say. She gave me a tight smile. Because screenshots do not lie. I reached under the coffee table and pulled out the folder. Nobody moved. The room changed before I said anything. Tessa's face went pale. Miles whispered, oh, come on, but not like he was angry at me. More like he saw the disaster coming and still hoped traffic laws might stop it. I opened the folder and placed the first page on the coffee table. This is the message that came through our kitchen iPad at 2:13 a.m., I said. The exact message was, he almost saw us tonight. Tell Jenna to fix the screenshots. I did not unlock anything. I took a photo of the notification on the shared device Marissa logged into. Marissa stared at the page, then at me. Can we not do this in front of everyone? You made it a group project, I said. This is the group. Jenna leaned forward. This is humiliating and controlling. No, I said. It is specific. I put down the parking receipt. This is from Marissa's jacket. Pearl District Garage. Entry at 11:58 p.m. Exit at 12:41 a.m. The same night, she said she was with you after dinner, Jenna. It is 2 blocks from Adrian's building. Adrian's smile was gone. A garage receipt doesn't prove anything. Correct, I said. By itself, it does not. I placed Jenna's screenshots beside the weather comparison. These are the screenshots Jenna sent me to prove Marissa was in the girls' chat all night. At the top, the weather widget says rain and 48 degrees. That night was clear. I have a time-stamped photo from our balcony at 10:12 p.m. showing dry pavement. You reused an old screenshot. Jenna's face hardened. That is obsessive. No, Priya's voice echoed in my head, and I held on to it. Do not give them a chance to make this about your tone. I said, that is not what the evidence says. Miles rubbed both hands over his face. Tessa put her wine glass down with a shaky clink. I placed the next page on the table. This is an older iPad notification from Tessa after the cabin trip I missed. It says, I still think the cabin situation is going to become a serious problem. Adrian cannot stop looking at her. Marissa whispered, Nolan. I looked at her then, really looked. I gave you a chance to tell me. Her eyes were wet. It was complicated. No, I said. It was hidden. Those are different. Adrian stood halfway. This is between you two. I turned to him. Sit down or leave. Those are your options. For a second, I thought he would laugh. He did not. He sat. Jenna snapped. You are humiliating her because you want to feel in control. I am not asking who lied, I said. I am telling you I know who did. That shut her up for maybe 3 seconds. Then Marissa started talking, fast and uneven. It was not some cheap thing. I was confused. You were so checked out after work, and the cabin trip was weird, and Adrian was just listening to me. It was emotional before it was anything else. Tessa made a small sound like she wanted to disappear into the couch. Marissa turned to me. I did not tell you because I knew you would react like this. Like what? Cold. Punishing. Making a file. You lied to my face in our kitchen, I said. You let Jenna send fake screenshots. You let Miles ask careful little questions. You let Tessa sit in my home knowing I had loaned her money while she helped hide this from me. I did not embarrass you. I stopped helping you hide. Her expression collapsed for a second, then hardened. It happened once. Adrian looked away. Tessa said, very quietly, Marissa. The room froze. Marissa turned on her. Don't. Tessa's mouth trembled. I can't keep doing this. Jenna hissed. Tessa, shut up. I looked at Tessa. Go ahead. She started crying, not dramatically, just with the tired panic of someone whose choices had caught up. It started at the cabin. I think it started there. They were outside by the fire pit after everyone went to bed. I saw them. Jenna saw them too. Miles knew after because he drove them back from some bar the next weekend. Miles looked like he might be sick. I didn't know what to do. You could have told me, I said. I know, he said. I know that now. I thought it was their relationship, not my place. It became your place when you helped. He nodded at the floor, and somehow that made me angrier than if he had argued. Weak remorse is still weak. Tessa wiped under her eyes with her sleeve. I thought it was just going to blow over. Then Jenna said if we told you, everything would fall apart, and Marissa kept saying she was ending it, and I. You what? I asked. She looked at me then, fully ashamed. I was afraid you would ask about the money. The room went still again. What money? Jenna asked, too sharply. I already knew, but I wanted Tessa to say it. The car repair money, Tessa said. It wasn't for my car. I waited. My sister's boyfriend got into legal trouble, and she needed help with rent, and I knew Nolan would not lend it if I said it was for him. So I said my car was broken. She swallowed hard. Then after the cabin, I kept thinking if everything came out, Nolan would hate me and ask for it back immediately. I sat back. The betrayal had layers, and somehow each one was smaller and uglier than the last. Not grand villainy, just cowardice stacked into a wall. It got bigger than I thought, Tessa whispered. No, I said. It got exactly as big as you all allowed it to get. Jenna stood up. This is insane. Everyone is acting like Nolan is a saint because he printed a bunch of papers. Marissa made a mistake. People cover for friends. That's what loyalty is. I looked at her. You created fake screenshots. To calm things down. To make me doubt what I saw. Because you were spiraling. I had not spoken to you about it when you sent the first text. Her mouth opened, then closed. I slid the lease paperwork onto the table. Marissa stared at it. What is that? The roommate release form. I spoke with the leasing office. I qualify for the apartment alone. You have 30 days. She blinked like the words were in another language. You already did that. Yes. You cannot just kick me out. I am not kicking you out tonight. I am telling you what happens next. If you sign the release, I take over the lease and you leave within 30 days. If you do not, we both stay responsible until the end of the term, and I still do not renew with you. Her voice rose. Where am I supposed to go? That is no longer my job to solve. Jenna laughed once, bitter and ugly. Wow, there he is. I looked at Marissa, not Jenna. You expected me to leave because I hate conflict. Marissa did not answer. You have 30 days, I said. I am not leaving my home because you turned it into a hiding place. For a moment, nobody spoke. The apartment that had held so many game nights and birthday cupcakes and lazy Sunday dinners felt like a stage after the lights came on. Every stain on the rug, every mug on the coffee table, every familiar thing looked different because now I could see who had been standing where. Adrian got up first. Pathetic, he muttered, but he would not look at me when he said it. Good night, Adrian, I said. He left without his beer. Miles stood next, holding his six-pack like an idiot. Nolan, I am sorry. I know that does not fix it. No, it does not. I did not want to get involved. You were involved. He nodded. Yeah. I did not invite him to say more. He left. Tessa stayed seated, crying quietly. I will pay you back. Yes, I said. You will. She flinched, then nodded. Jenna grabbed her salad bowl from the kitchen with sharp, angry movements. You are going to regret doing it like this. No, I said. I have regretted not trusting myself sooner. That is different. She left hard enough that the door bounced against the frame. Marissa and I were alone after that, except for Basil, who crawled out from under the couch and jumped into my lap as if he had waited for the worst of the weather to pass. Marissa stood near the window, arms wrapped around herself. Outside, headlights moved across the blinds. I loved you, she said. I know. I still do. I looked at the folder on the coffee table, the wineglass rings, the abandoned plates. Maybe, but you loved being seen as good more. She cried then. I did too, though mine came quietly and later, in the bathroom with the faucet running so she would not hear. Calm did not mean painless. It meant I had finally stopped offering my pain as a place for other people to hide. The next 30 days were exactly as awful and ordinary as you would expect. Marissa signed the roommate release after 2 days of saying she needed time. Carla from the leasing office emailed me the updated renewal documents with no commentary except, please sign by Friday. I signed them at my desk while a test script ran in another window. It was strangely anticlimactic, like legally separating a life could be done between bug reports. Marissa packed in waves. Target boxes appeared in the hallway. Trash bags full of clothes leaned against the bedroom wall. She took 2 mugs I liked and left 3 candles she had bought and never burned. Once, I found her sitting on the floor beside a half-packed box of books, holding a photo booth strip from our 2nd anniversary. I don't know how it got this bad, she said. I stood in the doorway. One choice at a time. She looked at me like she wanted me to soften. I did not. We had one final argument about Basil. We adopted him together, she said. He hides when you come home, I said. That is not fair. Maybe not. But his vet bills are on my card. His microchip is in my name. And you are moving into your sister's apartment with 2 dogs. She pressed her lips together and looked away. Fine. The day she moved out, it rained in that steady Portland way that makes cardboard feel doomed. Her sister came with a borrowed SUV and did not look me in the eye. Marissa carried boxes down the stairs while I stayed mostly in the kitchen, wiping counters that were already clean. Basil sat on my laptop and watched. At the door, Marissa paused with her last bag over her shoulder. I am sorry, she said. I believe you. Her face flickered with hope. I added, I also do not want you in my life. The hope left. She nodded once and walked out. The apartment felt too big after the door closed. Not physically. It was still a 2-bedroom with thin walls and a bathroom fan that rattled. But the silence had space in it now. The friend group did not survive in any recognizable form. Tessa paid me back in 3 installments, each one arriving with a message longer than the last. I only answered the first, received. Thank you. After that, I let the notifications sit. She tried once to explain more, saying she had been scared and ashamed and did not know how to get out of it once everyone was already lying. I believed that she was ashamed. I did not mistake it for repair. Miles sent apologies too. The first was bad. I really did not mean to hurt you. I was trying to stay neutral. I wrote back. Neutral would have been not helping. You gave rides and repeated cover stories. That is a side. 3 hours later, he replied, you are right. I am sorry. I did not respond. Maybe he became a better friend to someone else later. I did not need to be the place where he practiced. Jenna's part spread wider than she expected because she had made the mistake of being proud of the fake screenshots before everyone knew they were fake. Someone outside our immediate circle asked why people were no longer coming to her birthday drinks. Someone else mentioned the screenshots. Portland is a city, but social circles can behave like small towns with better coffee. Invitations stopped. People did not make announcements. They just stopped trusting her with plans, stories, and secrets. Adrian vanished almost immediately. That was the least surprising part. Once the drama stopped making him feel important, he had no reason to stay. Someone saw him at a brewery with a new group 2 months later, leaning over a table, smiling like he had just discovered intimacy. Good luck to them. I did not perform revenge. I did not post screenshots. I did not send a group email or make people choose sides. I simply stopped giving access to people who had treated my trust like a group project to manage. The strangest part was how quickly people respected boundaries once they realized I was not negotiating them. For a while, grief came in weird little bursts. I would reach for Marissa's brand of tea at the grocery store before remembering. I would see a hotel event flyer downtown and feel my chest tighten. I would hear Jenna's laugh in a crowded bar and turn around too fast. At night, I sometimes woke at 2:13 a.m. for no reason, staring toward the dark kitchen like the iPad might light up again and reveal some final, cleaner explanation. It never did. I repainted the bedroom a soft gray-green because Marissa had always wanted white walls, and I had always secretly hated them. I threw out the dying fiddle leaf fig after admitting it had been dead in spirit for at least a year. I kept the balcony herbs, even the basil plant that looked like it was making a legal argument for its survival. Basil the cat slept on my chest every morning like he was pinning me in place until I agreed to keep living there. One Friday, about 2 months after Marissa moved out, I had Priya over for pizza. Not a date, just pizza. She brought a 6-pack and inspected the apartment with the seriousness of a building code officer. Looks better, she said. Because of the paint? Because nobody is lying in it. I laughed for the first time in what felt like weeks. After she left, I washed the plates, turned off the kitchen light, and stood for a moment in the quiet. The iPad was still on the counter, but it was logged out of everything now. Just a screen for recipes and shipping labels. A normal object again. Basil jumped onto the counter where he was not allowed, knocked a pin onto the floor, and looked at me like I should be grateful for the entertainment. You're a menace, I told him. He blinked slowly and sat on the grocery list. I picked him up, turned off the last lamp, and walked through the apartment that was now only mine. There were still scratches on the floor from Marissa's boxes and one empty spot on the wall where our photo had been. There were bills to pay, laundry in the basement, and a lease with only my name on it. I expected the first quiet night alone to destroy me. I thought the silence would feel like proof that I had lost too much. Instead, it felt clean. Peace did not feel like winning. It felt like finally hearing myself think. It was the hum of the refrigerator, the soft thump of the cat jumping off the couch, the rain starting gently against the windows, and a phone that did not buzz at 2:13 a.m. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.